Okay, welcome back. Today I installed a new cartridge filter. We've basically swapped out an old one in the existing system. Unfortunately, I made an accident, and you can laugh. Pressed time lapse on the recording of the first couple of minutes instead of normal video, but I'm going to explain basically the first section, and then it'll carry on to where I've basically unboxed a new one. So this is the old filter I took out of the pool today. As you can see, the top here, the ring on the outside, there's a big gap between that and the actual lid on the cartridge, and if you go on this side, there's no gap there at all. So as it travels around, you can see a massive gap there. That basically means that the lid, the ring, and possibly the tank has warped at some stage, which is causing a constant drip down the side here. This is an old Helcon ZX cartridge filter. Because of the section or the area that we're putting it in couldn't fit a sand filter, which is what I wanted to do, we had basically swapped it out with like for like for a newer version of this. So the thing that causes this is age, over tightening, and potentially too much pressure. You can see there that over time people have been taking a screwdriver to the ring to try and get it off. You can buy separate lids and rings for these. It's recommended that you don't use a screwdriver. If you've got some trouble with yours, please contact your local pool professional. Let's move on to where we took off. A little bit thankful today. The weather's a bit miserable outside, but I get to work under cover, which is great. Bit of thread tape on the new pressure gauge. You want to make sure that these go in nice and level though. You don't want to strip these on an angle. Okay, so the pressure gauge is on. Biggest mistake I find people when they're putting these together is they get the sides confused. That one there says out, and the other ones all have in on them. There's 3 ins, 1 out, so it gives you the opportunity to plumb it in different ways and different angles depending on the area that you're working in. You just got to make sure that when you reinstall it, the out goes where the water's going out through the system. Give it a little dry out, make sure it's dry. You don't need to prime these black parts, they're not required, it's just simply straight on with glue. Just want to push that in nice and easy and hold that in for a little bit because they tend to have a habit of popping out. Repeat the process. I like clear glue purely because it just looks a little bit neater and tidier. It doesn't have that unattractive discolor of green or blue. On the other 2 sides you have an option of putting in a drain plug or simply a cap. The weather's a little all over the shop today. Nice even coat. Bit of pressure on that. This one's always a bit tricky. You get a little section up there that'll slip straight in nicely for you. So you just got to make sure you put it up the right way. Nice and flush. Wiping off the excess. Inspect the internal contents, make sure everything's there. Got our locating plug, also known as a spigot, and we've got a nice new fresh element in there that comes standard with the filter. The idea of this locating ring is when you tighten it up, you tighten it up all the way, but you'll see that it's sitting there a little bit depressed. What you want to do is tighten all the way, come back till it slides in there. This will prevent this lid and ring from warping. The biggest mistake people make is they over tighten it thinking I have to tighten it all the way, when in fact that will actually cause pressure and it could make that lid and ring assembly warp. Let's put it in. Over time the earth's moved down the hill, so let's clean up the area. Couple of new O-rings. Okay, so that's basically slipped straight in. We've got the out going out of the filter through the return back to the pool. And we've got the in where the water comes in from the pump. Because we're under water level, we can just release the air bleed. Don't over tighten these, you'll crack them and break them. Okay, just checking for leaks. Making sure nothing's dripping. All looks good. All looks good there too. We'll check around the lid here. Make sure there's no drips coming from the lid. Pressure's pretty good on that. Should be, because it's a new element. We'll just bleed that out a little bit more just to make sure we've got all the air out of the system. That'll give us a more accurate reading. Good flow through the cell. And that's a nice, easy little swap in, swap out. The other handy feature of this brand of cartridge filter is it comes with this little part here. As you can see, it has little marks. As you can see, it's got little lines that you can set to where you've cleaned the element or the element's new, and it gives you a start and a clean filter indicator. We'll just set that, our little pressures down here. It's a bit hard to see that I haven't brought my glasses, but it's right there. So we'll take that right down to the start there. So That'll tell me that basically when it gets to about there, it pretty much, you want to consider cleaning it. So that's a nice easy swap in, swap out. Astral, which used to be Hurlcon, which is now Floridra. Great little cartridge filter. The reason I like these ones is it's a nice easy operation to get the lid on and off, as opposed to most where you've got to pry them off, replace O-rings all the time and things like that. Providing that you make sure you have that little locking ring in place, you won't warp the lid and extend the life of your filter. Appreciate you watching. Thanks for tagging along. Consider subscribe if you want to see some more of this type of content. In the meantime, enjoy your day, stay safe. Cheers. Poor old Chook, you've definitely seen your days, haven't you? But you've worked hard.